What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host today, Alex Van Aken, and today I'm joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm doing good. Welcome back.
Thank you. I have been gone. This is like the second day I'm home in 2 weeks, pretty much. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, you're like a rock star now. You're just all over the place.
I mean, it was not for anything cool. It was for a family reunion, which is cool.
Are those not cool?
And a wedding. Yeah, I guess it is cool. I guess I am a rock star. We're also joined by Kyle Hilliard. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, as always.
Yeah, you sound tired. You sound exasperated.
Tired, always tired. Constantly ready to fall asleep at the drop of a hat. It's my dad's superpower. Just put me in a somewhat comfortable seat and I'm gone.
Yeah, I think that's called narcolepsy.
Oh, is that okay?
And rounding us out, returning guest, friend of the show, Alex Van Aken. How you doing?
Why did you pause there for us? Did you forget what my name was?
I was deciding whether I was gonna put where you work ahead of where I introduced you. I was gonna say Destructoid's Alex Van Aken,
Destructoid's own Alex
Normandy
Van Aken.
FM, or Axe of the Blood Gods, Alex Van Aken. That's why I hesitated. I was like, well, he's his own person. Let me say his name first.
I'm a well-rounded person who would also like the power to go to sleep whenever he could. Like I have trouble sleeping. I don't know if y'all got that or not, but I've never been somebody who can just like go to sleep, you know?
I have a kid. Solves it. There you go.
Eric, how are you?
Kidless and still alive. So
I was wondering about that. So.
That's a great t-shirt. Kidless and still alive.
Kidless and still alive.
Yeah.
And a gamer with like a gamepad underneath it.
Oh yeah, I can see that at a Walmart.
If people haven't heard previous episodes you were on, don't follow you, give them the rundown real quick on what you do.
Oh geez, what do I do? This is like a family reunion. So I am a video game journalist and podcaster. You can find me by day over at Destructoid.com, where most of my writing, I really edit more often these days, but the last few weeks I've done a lot of writing. I'll have an interview with the Kaiju number 8 English dubcast that's going up sometime today. You might have read my preview of Elden Ring, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. But mostly otherwise editing and stuff. And then by night, I'm over at Axe of the Blood God, an independent RPG podcast with Kat Bailey and Nadia Oxford, where we talk all things RPGs all the time. There's a lot of RPGs to talk about nowadays, so it's great.
Yeah.
And then Normandy FM with Kenneth Shepard, where we do kind of a book club retrospective on different games. So we started out with Mass Effect, given the name. The Mass Effect choice came before the name. We chose Normandy FM afterwards. It wasn't like we were just like Normandy FM. Oh, we should do Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But we also did Dragon Age, Last of Us, Cyberpunk, a bunch of other like kind of story-driven, choice-driven games. And right now we are in the middle of Nier Replicant, which has been a very interesting experience, all things told, because it's the one that Ken hasn't played. It's the first time we're playing a game that he has not played. And getting Kenneth Shepard through Nier Replicant has been a journey in and of itself.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, find all those shows on wherever you're listening to this podcast. Go type them in, subscribe to them, follow them, and follow Eric's work. Okay, well, like you all pointed out, we're going to be talking about Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree today. Marcus and Eric both played it themselves at a recent preview event in California. And then
did we?
We're also going to be talking about our impressions of Hauntii, Wild Bastards, Nine Souls, and to close out the show, our Summer Game Fest predictions. Of course, on that topic, if you want to stay up to date on all things Summer Game Fest, stay tuned to GameInformer.com. This whole next week, we're going to be burning the midnight oil. A few of us are going to be on the ground in Los Angeles, playing games, writing up our impressions, Who knows, maybe a couple videos here or there. But yeah, it's going to be a busy time. Go to GameInformer.com if you're curious on hearing about all that. And lastly, before we jump into the show proper, if you want to support the show and you're enjoying it, do us a favor. Go grab a magazine subscription, print magazine subscription, that is. It's $19.91 for 10 issues a year, or you can get $34.99 for 20 issues over 2 years. And Eric's a subscriber. He got one right there. The Star Wars Outlaws issue. If you sign up right now, oh wow, we got Hades right there. Yeah, we're going to be announcing.
Also have the Notebook within reach.
I did. Yes.
That's so funny.
Lorelei and the Laser Eyes Notebook.
Yeah.
A notebook that I am really kicking myself for not actually using while I played the game. It's like literally filled with templates that would have helped me tremendously. But you know, hindsight's 20/20, right?
That's funny. Well, let's jump into Elden Ring. Marcus, Eric, I'd love for you two to kick us off. Eric, since you're the guest, I'm gonna give you the honors. Tell us about Shadow of the Erdtree.
Elden Ring got DLC. Elden Ring got an expansion. I mean, for those of you who played one of the GOTYs of that year, there was really only one thread left that Elden Ring had to tug on, and that was a giant withered arm sticking out of an embryo, egg of some kind. So that is what we did. Marcus and I traveled to LA to tug on the arm of said embryo and find out what was inside. And
which, by the way, was literally there, right?
Yes.
They built like a arm tug machine.
I don't know if it was an arm tug machine. I don't know if we were supposed to. I did tug on it a little bit. You know, I gave it like a little yank, but it did have. Yeah, you gotta like put it against your face and all that. You know, I wanted to know what it felt like.
Yeah.
You know,
they had a big sign that said, "Please touch this arm," which is not. I'm not making that up.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
Because that's how you start the DLC. It turns out.
Oh.
Yeah, so you for those of you at home who might have played Elden Ring, if you beat a certain Lord of Blood who likes to say a word 3 times and then kill you, once you have beaten that boss, there is kind of a thing there that was a lingering thread of a major story beat in Elden Ring, and that is kind of where the DLC kicks off, and we got to start from the beginning, essentially, like entering the DLC for the first time. A lot of it is centered around Mikola, who is the Empyrean that we have kind of heard things about, especially if you do a lot of the end game optional challenge content. A lot of it centers around Mikola and Melania, who are like they're the twins of Radigan and Marika, right? They're kind of the offspring of Radigan and Marika. And we get a little bit of information about them. Now we're kind of learning a lot more about them, and potentially a lot more about just the lands between, how things came to be, the time way before any of the stuff that we've done in Elden Ring prior. I feel like a lot of the hints are that there is an unsung history, a lot of stuff that went into the eventual creation of the Golden Order under Marika that we're going to learn about, because it's been like covered up, swept away by history, and now Mikola is trying to expose some of it by going into the realm of Shadow. I love that it's the realm of Shadow is the Shadow realm. I did not find Yugi's grandpa in there, but hopefully as part of the DLC we will rescue him eventually.
Yugi. Pretty good.
Yugi, my boy. So yeah, it's I don't know, Marcus, maybe you could speak more to this, but it felt weird trying to write about this, because I really did, like, I came away from it with like, that was 3 hours of more Elden Ring, and that's great. It is definitely just more Elden Ring. There are new mechanics that they kind of try to introduce, but I don't know that any of it felt so groundbreaking that it was like I was playing a new game. It was like I'm getting a really good expansion to something that I already loved. And so like a GOTY expansion is good, but it is also like, it's more Elden Ring. I don't know how much more I can really say about it at that point.
I mean, that's what I said in my written preview that you can read online now. I was like, it's the most boring take imaginable of like, hey, they made more of this and it's still really fun. But yeah, outside of the like, there's a new progression sort of like item called the Scaldu tree. I don't know how you say it out loud.
The Scadu tree or something like that. You're supposed to scat while you use it, I believe. You go to the site of grace and then scat into the fire.
Meet the Scat Man.
The Scat Man, yeah.
Yeah.
So is it is this at the site of grace?
Yeah, it's like an item you find. They're all over the place. I think it's called Erdtree fragments, and you bring them back to the site of grace, and there's a new upgrade option, and you feed this into that. And basically, it basically just makes you sturdier and harder to kill, like the more you plug into them. So like, and then every time you upgrade, you have to spend more of them to get to the next tier. So like, you know, if it takes one to get one upgrade, then you need two next time. Okay. And Bandai Namco, who were the PR reps that were there, nobody from Software was there from the for the event, but they kept encouraging, like, hey, if you get stuck on something, maybe go roam around and try to find more of the Scatman fragments. Those might help.
Okay, so like similar kind of philosophy to Elden Ring. If you are underpowered, go somewhere else and find a way to level up, whether by killing enemies or exploring.
Here's my question. So like, are you going somewhere else? Are you being transported to a totally new place?
You are in the Shadow Realm.
And is it a memory, or are you physically there?
Great question. Don't really know. It's kind of, I would refer to it as like another plane of existence, because it is, I think, even from what we played, it felt non-contiguous with like the actual Elden Ring world. You know how the Elden Ring world is kind of one, you know, big landmass with a few exceptions. There's like the sky place you go to and stuff like that, but it's largely one landmass. This was like, we're going somewhere else. We're going somewhere substantially different. And I think that's important to note, because the fragments that we're picking up, there's one for your character that, like Marcus said, makes you do more damage and take less damage, essentially. That's like the easiest way to explain it. You can also pick some up for your spirit ashes that will kind of have the same effect on your spirit ashes. Those only work in the DLC area. They're specifically for the DLC. So it's not like you can go and farm these fragments and then turn back around and now you can beat like Radon super easily or whatever. Like, this is a specific thing for the DLC. And I think it's interesting because I was trying to, you know, probe some of the Bandai Namco folks who were there, because like Marcus said, we didn't have any FromSoft people there to ask questions directly. But my personal takeaway, my personal speculation is that this is a way for them to kind of add a power curve that gives you a little bit of an effect no matter where you are when you enter the DLC, because considering how deep into the game the DLC is, you would have to probably be a certain level to like manage to get there, unless you're like a super hardcore power gamer and you can like just frame perfect everything. I don't know, but I imagine you have to be at a certain point in this game power scale wise to get in, but they still want to have a ramp of some kind. And this is what gives them the ramp, no matter whether you're at like level 100 or level 500 or whatever. Like, there is still some level of ramping that has happened, but I couldn't gauge whether, because we had a very fixed build, it was a very like, what I would say is like
take your characters into
right,
no. But we had something that was probably like maybe 10 to 15 levels under where I was when I beat Elden Ring is what it felt like. It had kind of like a pretty good level stock. It had like plus 25 weapons on a bunch of stuff. So like, you had equipment to go in there. So it definitely felt like an end game style build, but there was still a noticeable difference when I started using those fragments versus when I did not have them. I did like notice I fought one boss to kind of like get a gauge of where that was at, and then used the fragment and fought the boss again. And I could notice that there was like not a huge difference, but like a tangible difference between having them and not having them.
Okay. Interesting.
The other thing is that the game now also adds, I believe they said 100 weapons, like brand new weapons of the game, and those you can take into the base game, which is cool. I played as the warrior class, and he was wearing this like weird bear claw like glove as a weapon. I forget what it was called. It was like red bear something, but it basically, his attack was just like this super aggro, just like flurry of just slashes where he basically comes at you like a berserker, like Wolverine. And it's just meant to be like, just like tear into them. Like, don't even let them retaliate, just like stagger them and then just like rip them apart. And then he also had a two-handed axe that he could throw at people, which I used a lot because it would do a lot of damage, especially to there was these really huge and disgusting like scorpion bugs in one of the kind of like legacy dungeons that took a substantial amount of its health, which is great because those things are disgusting. But the weapons that I found in the game were all really fun to use and sort of tinker around with. At one point I killed like this this invader like Fire Knight guy and took his like big old broadsword that could just light people on fire whenever it touched him. And then I was like, well, I'm rolling with this for the rest of my time. This is fantastic.
On the subject you mentioned, legacy dungeons, the weapon count. I'm trying. Is there one So there's one new zone that's the size of Limgrave or the size of Liurnia, is what I've heard, or so.
The area that we played, and this is my speculation completely, I feel like we did not see the bounds of that area. I feel like there is at least one more thing that we could have like gone through a door to get through, and then PR was like, don't go through that door. So okay. I have a feeling that there is like some more to explore than what we even saw in the session that we played, but we basically had what you would call two legacy dungeons of some kind that were pretty large experiences that were your classic, like, walk up to an area, you're going to kind of fight your way through it. There's a fog gate at the end with a big boss. We can talk about one of those bosses. I personally don't want to talk about the other one because when I saw it, I was like, huh? And I want everyone else to have the huh moment too. So
which one
preserve that
about?
The second one. The second one.
Okay, the harder one.
Yes. It was interesting. I heard mixed opinions on which of the two bosses was the harder one, because there were actually some people that thought that the other boss, the dancing lion that we do see in the trailer and stuff like that, was a little bit more difficult. But I personally thought the second boss was harder, had a harder time with that boss particularly, but we won't talk about who they are for spoiler reasons. But those are kind of your classic legacy dungeon, like you're going to run through an area, you're going to unlock some shortcuts to kind of advance farther, eventually get to a point where you have your site of grace right before the fog gate door. You're going to summon, gold name people to help you out, and then go in and fight the boss and keep banging your head against it until you win. There's also, I found an Everjail above ground, which was kind of interesting. Just kind of like a fog gate door that you go through and you fight like a very classic Everjail style enemy. I found two different other dungeons that were on the overworld that had their own bespoke names and their own kind of experiences. I did not see if there was a proper fog gate boss in either one of them, but they did have kind of enemies from Elden Ring that you would consider at least like sub bosses or mini bosses of some kind, like ones that would show up and be like a substantial thing that you'd have to fight. Maybe once you kill it, it's off the world forever and that sort of thing. Basically, there was a lot to do in this one area, because the main area that you have is kind of this big sweeping plain that has all these like spirits and ghosts on it, and kind of feels like a place where a battle was fought before. And then eventually we get to a crossroads that leads us to two different kind of castle areas, and those are like the dungeons, but then scattered out and through like winding paths and stuff, that's where you find some of the more off the side locations and things that offer little things to chase after. And there's still a lot of that in this. I felt like it was dense.
We got any swamps in there?
I mean, there's a
murky one of the areas.
And rivers and
little humid.
Little bayou-esque. But like one of the cool things about this, because there were times like I was sitting next to Eric as we were playing, and I would glance sometimes at either his monitor or some of the people around me, and I would usually always see something that I had not seen yet. And even talking to people after the event, I'd be like, oh, what'd you run into or what'd you fight? And every person, at least I talked to, had something different that the other one did not mention. Because I was like, oh yeah, I didn't find any of the other regular, I guess, smaller dungeons that Eric found or some other people found. And then I was just hearing, I won't spoil anything that anyone told me, but just like, oh, I found this like weird character that I didn't know what their deal was.
There's a naked dude running around at one point.
There was legend of a naked man, yes, that I did not find. But
was it Let Me Solo Her? Has he been like put into the game kind of?
We asked, I did specifically ask, I was like, are there any references to Let Me Solo Her? Was not able to confirm. So I would
he's the
also
final
be
boss. That's why.
Yeah.
And he's not available to help you.
He's like, now you got to solo me. That's the full circle. Yeah.
Did you guys because I'm intimidated by this expansion. I'm very excited for it, but like I'm not the best From player. I've gotten through a number of From games, but like you know, the reputation of expansions and DLC is like, this is for the real gamers out there. Like, did you feel like it was like too intense or too hard, or was it like about on par with the rest of the game?
I think that and granted, we were using late game builds too, so we were pretty like, I didn't find too many of the like rank and file enemies too tough. Like, it was more just like, oh, they're new, I just have to learn like, what can this new thing do? But then once you did, like, oh, okay, I'm taking them down pretty reliably. But there were definitely some sturdier enemies that were like, I think I'm just gonna run away from this guy because I don't want to fight like some giant knight guys that are roaming around. You're like, okay, I'm gonna steer clear of them, or like the weird fire basket thing that definitely rode up to with just full of piss and vinegar. Like, I'm gonna take this guy down. It did like 0.1% damage when I hit it, and then it was like, well, I guess I'll see myself out here.
Yeah, there's definitely a tree sentinel type character where it's just this giant walking wicker basket of death and despair. And you could go fight it if you want to. It's like I know Elden Ring has this stuff too, but I always think of Xenoblade Chronicles because they always have that like one enemy in the first area that's like level 80, and it's supposed to teach you like, hey, don't go over here. You can't always beat the like secret boss that's over here. You might have to come back. This is that guy, but like souped up to 20. Like, he just murders people for fun because he can by existing. There are other enemies too that really did, I think, threw some wrenches at me. The blade dancer ones that have like the circular blades and kind of like can spin around and move really fast.
I always hate those kind of enemies.
They mess me up pretty bad.
Those guys are cool.
in the span of about 3 hours, I was able to beat both of the major bosses that they put in our path and some other bosses on the side too. So like, and that was with a build that.
And are you like a From guy? Are you like a From expert, or like?
Elden Ring is one of the few Froms that I've rolled credits on, but I've played most all of them to some degree.
We're probably about on par there, because like there's the experts there. Like I'm a weirdo who like doesn't. I would take a From game without bosses. Like, I just like exploring. You know?
And I wasn't able to beat either of the two bosses, and a lot of that was time crunch of like, I have to move on because I need to see other stuff, so I can't spend as much time as I normally would trying to get them down. But like, I think I spent a fair amount of time with like the lion and just like got close on a few occasions, but just wasn't able to seal the deal. And yeah, so but like it's hard to get a true sense of like how much more challenging is this when you're using a character that isn't yours, and you know, and we're just sort of thrown into it with a limited amount of time. But like, I wasn't like overwhelmed by it. Like, I was like, oh, this seems harder, more so because like this is a new thing that I haven't faced before. But once you get them down, like, okay, I got you. I can deal with this now. But there was definitely stuff that was like, okay, this is gonna take a minute. I might have to come back later with some.
It's also just like wildly, I mean, these games wildly depend on your play style. Like, I remember there were certain enemy, Godric took me forever, and then I would see people just like cruise through him in Elden Ring, whereas I beat Malekith the Black Blade on the first try. And I know like other people took them forever. It really, I think, just depends on your play style and if you're in it in the moment.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to bring my end game like blood build dude into the expansion, because I fired up Elden Ring just to get ready for the event, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I like this guy. He's really strong. And then playing the expansion, I'm like, oh man, I bet he can mess up some of these things in here. Maybe.
I had that moment where I was definitely feeling, because I did the sorcerer monk build that was basically you have like martial arts hand-to-hand combat style, which is like new for this expansion. So I was trying to figure out how to do a lot of that, because it's very like poise and stagger based, where you're trying to basically just dodge hits and then bowl your enemy over with so many hits that they eventually get staggered and fall down. You even have like a sick kind of spinning kick that you can do into the air. That's a weapon skill that was really brutal.
I saw
really,
you doing
really
that kick quite a lot.
Yeah,
it looked cool.
It's a good move. But I was doing that, and then also trying to use some spirit ashes that I will just say are not the best spirit ashes compared to what I have in the base game. They are no Black Knife Tiche. They're not. Not showing up to really play. They're just kind of showing up to participate, you know? And so there was the second boss we had, you get 2 gold summons for that. So you can summon in 2 additional NPC helpers and then walk in and then summon your Spirit Ash. You got 4 people like fighting this one boss, but the boss usually made pretty quick work of at least 1 or 2 of them. And I was having that moment where I was like, I feel like this would probably be a bit easier if I had a better NPC helper, like one that either felt better suited to the task or was able to do something else besides just be, you know, a goofy guy attacking an enemy right now. So I do feel like some of the tools made it a little bit more difficult, almost to the point where I was like a little bit tempted to like, we were technically allowed to leave the DLC area if we wanted to go reset our stats through a thing that you can do in the base game to kind of do a stat reset. And part of me really wanted to just like dip out real quick and go get like 1 or 2 Spirit Ashes that I knew how to get to, like just right offhand, and then bring them back into the DLC and be like, look, y'all, I need the backup here. I need the real backup. But I fought with what I had. But yeah, I think it's gonna be just, oddly enough, everything that people probably want from this DLC. And I know that's not the most like surprising, breathtaking, earth-shattering, you know, opinion you could have, but like I just want more Elden Ring. I was playing this and I was like, yeah, I really loved the experience of playing Elden Ring for the first time. And I think the stuff they're getting into, like the mythos, the lore around the world, is going to be really, really good to dig into. Really fun and enjoyable. I love this whole like the theme is that you're kind of following in Miquella's footsteps, and you have all these different like followers, essentially like the Band of the Hawk from Berserk, who are all like following in the footsteps of Miquella, and they're like, nothing bad could ever happen to us. We're all following in kindly Miquella's footsteps. And I'm like, I've played FromSoft games before. You're all dead. Like, this is, you're dead if you're lucky. Like, it's going to get much worse for some of you. And I can't wait to see the directions that the DLC takes.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they blew it. You know, like, oh, they've ruined Elden Ring with this. It's like, no, it's just like the 3 hours flew by. And it's one of the few sort of like, especially like in-person demos where, I feel like sometimes I play games at like these kind of events where I don't feel totally comfortable, one, because I'm not like in my own space, but then also maybe the game is like, it's okay, like it's fine in points, but at a time, like there's times where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this to be over, you know? This is one of those few demos where I was like fully just in the zone, comfortable, just like, I could do this all day. I just want to go around, explore. Like when they called like the, okay, you got 30-minute warning, I was like, oh crap, man, really? Okay. Like, just like, I just want to go see, like, I see a cool thing over there, I want to see what's over there. Okay. And yeah, it just reignited my love for this game, and I cannot wait to play it. And thankfully it is not far away, so
awesome. I can't wait to play either. June 21st is when it releases, so not too long at all. Marcus,
yeah.
What's
I was
up?
just gonna say, I wonder, I probably should boot up Elden Ring for like an hour or two.
I was thinking that
right?
too.
That's
yeah.
what I did, and it made a difference. Like, you don't even have to go like do a bunch of stuff. Just
I
to
didn't.
Be like,
I never.
oh, yeah, I know how to do all my stuff again.
I've still got some lingering side stuff I could do, so maybe I'll go knock that out. But yeah, I can't wait.
Get familiar with your character again.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I booted Elden Ring up to get ready for this preview event was like, I loaded it up and I was like, I beat Elden Ring. I took down Melania. Like, I'm so good at this game. I don't even need a refresher. And I start the game up, and the first thing I do is I hit X to attack. And if you played,
oh no,
if you played these games, you know that RB is attack, X is your flask of some kind. So I was just sitting there chugging my Mountain Dew while a dude was wailing on me, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, I do need to play this game again and remind myself how this works.
Yeah.
So absolutely take the time, learn from my mistakes.
Awesome. Well, Marcus, let's go over to you. You've been playing Hauntii, which is I've seen this on like Screenshot Saturdays and stuff throughout the years. I think that the game's pretty popular on TikTok, like the developer, and like they've kind of showcased their progression, I believe. But yeah, tell us about it. What's Hauntii?
Yeah, so I finished this a few days ago. I have a review up on the site, hopefully this week. But it is a God, it's an interesting game. It's like it's an action game, really, even though it doesn't really look like it is, just based on like the vibes of it. So
also, if you're trying to look this up at home, it's Haunt and then 2 I's after. Hauntii.
Yes. Hauntii.
One word though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Wii naming convention.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, but this is a 1-player game. But yeah, you play as a ghost who has recently arrived to the afterlife, or eternity as it's called. You don't know anything about your life prior to death. You just have your memory basically wiped. And in the beginning of the game, you meet a little, ostensibly an angel. In the game, they're called Eternians, but she's pretty much an angel. And she's like beckoning you to ascend to presumably heaven, or like a heaven adjacent realm. But then as you're kind of floating up with her in a really beautiful and like moment, like the music swells, and it's just like this is my biggest takeaway with this game, is that I think the art direction and presentation is absolutely incredible. But as you're ascending, you find out you're still bound to the underworld and you're dragged back down. And so you spend the whole game just trying to figure out how to move on to whatever is on the other side. You're exploring these different realms of eternity where it's occupied by other ghosts like yourself. And the gameplay it's a twin stick shooter where you're just running around and you're using the right stick to just fire these sort of like I don't know what they're called, like spectral ghost lasers, maybe. Yeah. But their main mechanic outside of just blowing things up is that you can use it to possess objects. So you can shoot certain things, and then you'll jump inside of them, and then you can interact with them. It's very Mario Odyssey in that way. And that's the biggest thing it reminded me of. Like, oh, I'm going to jump inside of either a stationary object like a tree, and then I can shake the tree, and then it might drop health or collectibles, or like everything you jump into has some like weird little bespoke like mechanic that's either useful or it's just like, I don't know what this is meant to do, but it's just kind of cute and funny, even if it doesn't have any real practical use. Like you can inhabit other characters, like certain enemies you can jump into, and then you can use their weapons to fight other enemies. But yeah, it's a lot of it. It's got some bullet hell tendencies, where some of the enemies are firing like spread shots at you, and like not like super elaborate patterns, but you do have like a dash that you can do to kind of dodge through it.
I'm surprised to hear you say it's kind of like action-y. Like I thought it was really sort of like a passive kind of movement through beautiful art, but there's like this is like it's an action game, huh?
Oh yeah, there's some like there's like some challenging boss fights in there where they'll throw like a ton of enemies at you, and then they're all shooting like 50 different projectiles, and you're just like, I'm struggling to stay alive, because you have like, when you start you have like maybe 3 hearts, and you can you're collecting like the big thing is like, not only that it's a bullet hell, but it's also like a very big sort of collectathon game where, again, the more I think about it, the more it very much is Mario Odyssey, where it's or maybe like Mario 64 style, where like every like world you're in is kind of like a big open sort of like sandbox, and instead of finding stars like in Mario 64, you're just finding these like, actually no, they are stars. They're straight up stars, but they don't look like traditional stars, but they are called stars. And they're hidden all over the place, and every level has like their set number of them. And you just do like weird little either mini games, or you just have to hunt around and you'll find one like around a corner in some obscure little spot of the map. And then, it's like, hey, you found the one for this. So like some of them might be like, hey, there's like a recurring one where a character's like, hey, I lost my dog. Can you go find my dog? And the dog is always off in some edge of the map, and all you got to do is find the dog, possess it, and then walk it back. And she's like, oh, thanks. Here's a star. And it's what I like is that it does get like, there's some repeatable ones, but then there's some creative ones depending on which world you go to. Like there's one world that is my favorite in the game where it's like a big carnival. It's like this big amusement park, but all these rides, and it looks amazing. And you can haunt the roller coaster and then just ride it around all over the place.
That's
and then you
awesome.
can do like racing challenges, or like, oh, if you can get through this roller coaster within X amount of time, we'll give you a star. So it's very Mario inspired in that way, where you're just like, I think I'm going to try to 100% and get all these stars here.
Yeah. But just to be clear, not a 3D game at all.
Not a platformer. Yeah. No. And not a 3D game. It's like a
top-down 2D.
Top-down isometric-ish.
Yeah. They're using 3D objects, but like 2D sprites, it looks like. Like there's some...
Yeah, I think it's the game... I get famously, maybe too strong a word, but like they made all the art in Procreate, which is like,
oh, cool. Yeah.
I think, right? That's like a really impressive iPad art
Yeah, I love Procreate.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
Yeah,
cool.
Because as the character turns, it's like changing. Like it looks like a 2D like illustrated game, or like
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could understand what you were saying, that this game does give that impression of it being a lot more of a passive, like narrative-driven adventure, especially the way it starts with the oh, you're falling back to the world. That's like a kind of a tragic moment, and there are more moments like that for sure. Like there's a lot of like cinematic sort of sequences, and the game is at its like prettiest when it's like you're just moving through a world, and then the camera just like pans out to show like, look at this beautiful city that you're in. You're just seeing all the lights, and just that's where the art direction like really shines. And then the music, I forget. There's like, they said that it's like I guess a famous artist or something. They named the artist in a way of like, look, we got this person. It wasn't anyone that I was familiar with, but whoever it is did a great job. 'Cause it's one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. So shout out to you, mystery person that composed Hauntii. Yeah, it's got a very jazzy sort of like mellow, almost like a noir kind of vibe to it. And like between like, and as you're collecting the stars, you're unlocking these vignettes that kind of give you glimpses as to the ghosts' like life when they were alive, that are like really touching. And there's no like voice act in the game. Like all the dialogue is kind of basically like voice bubbles, but you're getting these very cute little like short little scenes of like, oh, this is them as a kid, and they like broke their leg climbing a tree, and that was like a moment that that stuck with them. Or like they were sick in the hospital, but then their friends came to visit, or they went with their mom to the beach and did this. And you're sort of like trying to like, the whole game's message sort of like, you're getting these memories, but then you're also having to learn how to let go of them so that you can move on to the afterlife proper. Because Eternity's whole thing is like, all the ghosts there haven't been able to ascend because they're afraid of letting go of their memories, because they're stuck on like, well, this is the only thing I have left that makes me me, so why would I ever want to give that up? And and a lot of them even either are afraid or hate the angel people. Like they're all warning you like, oh, I don't know why you're chasing that angel, like they're nothing but trouble, man. They just want you to give up your stuff, man. I don't know if they could be trusted. There's like, the closest thing this game has to a main antagonist is this really funny like scientist who is like more or less like Gru from Despicable Me, where she's to the point where she literally has minions that look a lot like the minions. Like they got big old goggles and suspenders, like, but imagine if the minions were just like painted black. That's basically what they are. But they
like
just
the
keep
second movie.
I haven't seen them, so I believe you.
You haven't seen them? The
No,
children's movies?
Yeah, it actually is weird. I've never seen any of those movies.
You're good.
Yeah,
You're totally fine.
but
Make
yeah,
no effort whatsoever, please.
but she pretty much comes up with like Team Rocket caliber schemes to try to catch your angel friend of like, yeah, I can, you don't understand. I'm doing a good thing for you because, this thing's trying to ruin your life and stuff like that. So you're like fighting her weird mechanical machines every now and then. But yeah, outside of like in terms of like criticisms, like some of the activities are like, some are better than others. There's a few where just like, okay, it is starting to feel like busy work. And honestly, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was I feel like the movement speed is just like a notch below where I want it to be, to the point where I was like dashing constantly. And you can upgrade the number of dashes. Like the three things you can upgrade are like your hearts, your dashes, and how long you can fire before you have to pause and let it reload. And I was like spending so much into the dash things. I was like, okay, I want to be able to dash like 4 times in succession. I just want to, the environments are big enough to where you're like, okay, if I just walk through this, we're going to be here for a while. So I wish the character moved just a little bit faster. I feel like it would make a big difference for just how much a game kind of demands you to explore and poke around. And you're going to be doing like trips back through places because you need to go back to another world to turn in your stars. You can only turn in your stars at certain like little terminals that aren't in every world. So I wish there was a bit less of that. But other than that, like I think it's like it's a cool game. Like it's fun. I'm still like hovering on a score right now. I still have to very much write the review, so we'll see where I land. But I enjoyed it, and like I said, I think it's on my list for like the best looking games of the year. And also the ending is it hit me in a way I wasn't expecting, and it's on my list of like best moments. It's a cool game.
I'm excited to play it. I played the demo during Steam Next Fest and really liked it, but I haven't sat down proper and like played it. I think we all have this big queue of indie games, right? Like I got through Crow Country and Lorelei, so now I got Hauntii and you know, a bunch of there's another handful of things I want to play as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I wish listed that while you're talking. I have been playing very briefly. I got a code today before we started recording and did my best to try to get a few levels in. I've been playing Wild Bastards, which is a sequel follow-up to Void Bastards by Blue Manchu Games. Void Bastards, I think it came out in 2019, I believe, off the top of my head.
Was that long ago?
Yeah, and I loved it. Yeah, I believe it was in my top 4 games that year.
It was like a first-person rogue kind of game, right?
Yeah, it was first-person rogue light with, you know, some immersive sim elements to it, and it was kind of a lot of the enemies that the space that the characters exist in is 3D, but a lot of the characters and items are billboarding to you, so they're always facing you, like in or not always, but you know, kind of like in Dune. Or Doom rather, but it was a really interesting game, very comic book art style. Yeah,
cell shading,
some humor to it, but I love the systems in that game. You could play it stealth, you could play it full on action, and it was just like, you know, incredible. I loved that game. So Wild Bastards is
how wild are the bastards?
They're wild so far. I mean, not really. I've played for about 30 minutes.
Tame bastards.
No, I've played for about 30 minutes, so I'm very early. They're still introducing systems, but essentially it is it's a spaghetti western sort of style, but in space. So space cowboys, and I believe you have your Wild Bastards. There's up to 13 characters you recruit through this FPS campaign. And I think it's a similar structure to Void Bastards, where if all of your people die, you reset. I haven't died yet though, so I cannot confirm. If somebody wants to look at the Steam page or something, to let me know if it's a roguelite. Yeah, so you kind of start off, you're on the run, trying to, there's like this family gang, tell me if you've heard this before, who are causing trouble, and they're after you. And so Spider Rosa and Doc Casino are the 2 characters you start the game with. Spider Rosa is this this lady who
I can think is there's a character named Rosa in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's like, oh, so a spider version of Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So Spider Rosa has like 2 revolvers that she dual wields, and Doc Casino has you eventually, I should say, here's how it works. So imagine something like if you played Void Bastards, the star map, where you're kind of going from place to place. Or if you are playing something like Conquest mode in Star Wars Galaxies, Star Wars Battlefront, where I was gonna say, it's like, if you're gonna have to explain better than a mode in an MMO.
No, sorry.
To like 15
Star
years
Wars
ago.
Battlefront Conquest mode, where you're moving along a board and an enemy is moving along a board.
Okay.
You know, Citizen Sleeper has done similar things where like there are external timers going on in the world.
Oh, clocks. Yeah,
clocks.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are various clocks going on. Enemies are on, you know, you have up to a certain amount of movement speed per turn on this overworld map. And you're kind of going place to place on this planet that you are on. And you hop from planet to planet throughout the game. I'm already on like the 2nd planet or something. And they are, you know, there might be a shop there that you stop at. There might be, if you go out of your way to use your movement, you know, you might be able to pick up some extra gold. or find some armor or health. But you're using up your turn, and the more you wait, the big bads are coming after you, right? And so you're kind of like deciding, okay, I'm low on health. Should I go for this health, or should I kind of go after this enemy so I can get to the end of this roadmap, essentially, so I can escape the planet, keep going without dying, right? And as you're stopping on these planets, you are recruiting new people to your party. So you actually start the game. I said you started with Doc, Casino, and Spider Rosa. You actually only started with Rosa, who is the revolver lady, and you have to go and rescue Doc Casino, which involves going in and loading into these vignettes, which are like these FPS arenas, and they're Wild West. So you spawn in, there's a certain number of characters, enemies that you have to take out before they take you out. And it's a small little sandboxes, and in the style that Blue Manchu does, there's certain systemic things going on, and it's very basic right now where I'm at. I imagine it gets more complicated and more complicated with as more enemies are introduced. But you go through, you play this FPS arena, you're gonna get rewards. I rescued and recruited Doc Casino, so now that introduced a new feature where mid fight in the FPS arena areas, you can switch characters on the fly, and you can only have one, even though you have a party, you can only have one person in play at a time. So they're kind of doing this thing where they almost like tapping out for your tag team partner in wrestling, but they like teleport.
What? Wrestling?
They teleport and switch places, right? And so you press Q. I'm playing on keyboard. You press Q, and the characters will kind of teleport, and now you're playing as a character with a shotgun. And then if I switch back, now I've got the revolvers again. And so you're managing your party's health that way. If I've got a lower health character, I kind of want to keep them safe. Where other times it's more of a strategic, like I need this kind of weapon, or I'm going up against these guys, let me use the shotgun. And as you go throughout these planets and maps, you're picking up new equipment. I equipped rocket boots to Doc Casino, so I have a shotgun, and now I have this big jump I have now. Whereas for Rosa, I installed a speed loader onto her revolver, so her reload speed's cut in half. And that's kind of where I've gotten to in 30 minutes. But it's very promising. I will certainly be playing more. Like as soon as we're done with this podcast, nice. I'm going to be playing more. And it's promising. I love Blue Manchu games. They had Card Hunter that they put out. Void Bastards, I think I've keep up with my top 50 games of all time. And Void Bastards is like right there in the honorable mentions. Like depending on the day, it's probably in there somewhere. I love that game. And so I'm really eager to keep playing this one. I think it's got a lot of cool systems going on. I know I've just scratched the surface, I'm sure. But yeah, I've got two characters. It seems like they're really leaning into Western archetypes and really playing up the goofiness of it. One of the main antagonists introduced in the first series of planets is kind of like this snot-nosed brat cowboy of like the main bad cowboy, like a nephew or something, and he's just like really dumb caricature of like a cowboy, and it's a lot of fun. And I think they get pretty creative with the characters. I've seen the next one I'm going after is this guy he shoots finger guns, but he shoots fire out of his fingers. So yeah, that's Wild Bastards. Gonna keep playing it. We'll try to give people an update. But yeah, I believe, I don't know when it is out. I just have a preview build.
I forget if it's having an early access launch or not. I can't remember from the announcement. I think it might be TBA.
Yeah, it just says 2024. But I'm gonna keep playing the demo and see how far I can get. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So it's Wild Bastards by Blue Manchu. Marcus, gonna go back to you before we get into SGF predictions. You've been playing Nine Souls.
Yes, Nine Souls, which Souls spelled SOLS, no U, because well, there's a reason for it. But this is a new action Metroidvania game by Red Candle Games, who is best known as a horror studio. They're a Taiwanese developer that made Detention and most recently Devotion, which is a game that I reviewed and loved to death. For those that don't remember, Devotion was the game that came out originally like in 2019 and then got pulled from stores for 2 years because it had that meme making fun of China's president. And then they brought it back and are, to this day, I think you can only buy Devotion through Red Candle's website directly. Like, it's still not like on Steam or Epic or anything like that. Yeah. But I highly recommend it if if you're a horror fan. Great game. So this is them doing something completely different, because this is just a straight up just action game that is, I believe, inspired by Chinese myth.
And Marcus, I'm looking at the trailer, and I think probably another thing that they decided to do with this is to make it look slick as hell. Holy crap. It looks amazing. So the animation is fantastic.
I mean, it's kind of like the Hauntii thing of, like, speaking of like cool hand-drawn looking stuff. I mean, this game has a cool look, like not even just like the artistry and the illustration, but just like the style they're going for, where I think because I did a profile on Red Candle Games for the magazine like 2 years ago, and we talked about this game, and I believe the term they used for it was Tao punk, of like combining cyberpunk with Taoism.
Oh,
where
right.
It's got like
EAO, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Not towel, like the thing you dry yourself off after a shower, which is I'm embarrassingly admit I thought you said.
Yeah. When I get out of the shower, I like dry myself off, and then I'm like, damn, this world's ruined, and throw it to the side. That's towel punk.
You tie your hair into spikes with a towel.
It's like some hitchhikers.
Dry off, samurai. We've got a world to clean.
Yeah, it's like a blend of like I said, Eastern Asian Taoism with just like futuristic elements, where it's set in this cool world where you play as. I'm still only early. I put about probably like 3 hours into it so far, and he plays this weird little cat creature who might be a deity. I'm not entirely sure, but it opens up, and also right off the bat, this game is very gory in a way that I wasn't totally expecting. Like, there's like a scene in the very beginning of the game where your character just gets like messed up, like his entrails exposed, like messed up, and you're like, oh, okay, we're doing this, okay. But you're living in this village with these humans. They don't seem to really know what you are, and his only companion is this little kid who, they've been hanging together for about a year, and your character's name is Yi, and he seems very like pragmatic about things, because this society worship is the souls. They're like these 9 sort of like what they consider to be gods, and they adhere to this ritual, but they're like, oh yeah, every couple of years we, like, a chosen number of us get to ascend and go live with the souls, and it's like the best thing that can ever happen to you, right?
Yeah.
And Yi is like,
Ascension's always good. When is it ever not good?
Whenever anybody talks about Ascension, it's always with good intention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in Hauntii, it looks pretty beautiful. This game, without getting into spoilers, maybe a little less so. Yi kind of is like you get the sense of like he knows more about what this actually is than they do, and he kind of is like out to put it in to these 9 sort of deities that may or not be not actually be gods. They might actually just be like aliens.
why would someone ever put themselves up to be a god if they weren't really a god? I think we should just ascend and not ask questions.
I think the idea is that these things have like such advanced technology that the people on the ground are like, oh, these guys, they're magic, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very much like they don't even know what electricity is. That's kind of what they're working at right now.
That was me the first time I saw Dippin' Dots. I was like, oh, they have to be gods.
That's Scream of the Future, baby. Still is to this day, 30 years later.
I finished Lost Crown, and I was like, that was fantastic, but I don't have any room in my heart for another Metroid game. And then Animal Well came out, and I was like, well, this is fantastic, but I don't know if I have any room in my heart for another Metroid-inspired game. And now I'm looking at this, and I'm like, damn it, I want to play this. Maybe I do have room in my heart for another Metroid-inspired game.
Yeah, I will say so far, at least in the first couple hours, the gameplay wasn't that impressive to me.
Okay.
Like I was more in love with the vibe and the story they were telling than the moment-to-moment action. Because the biggest inspiration that this game has that Red Candle kept saying is like, we really love Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and we basically wanted to make a 2D of that. It's specifically in the parry system that game is famous for. So when you hear that, you go like, "Whew, that's shooting pretty high." Okay, because in my opinion, Sekiro has the best parry system of any game ever made. So it's like, all right, you're going for it, but like, hey, more power to you. And yeah, this game is like you're fighting enemies. It's going for like a parry focus thing where like you can dodge attacks, but they're very much encouraging like, hey, you should try to block this, because if you hit the shoulder button, you can do this thing where you can slap them with like a magic talisman, and then if you hold the button, it just like charges it up and explodes. So it's basically like if he was Gambit, or he's like, I'm just gonna stick you with this thing and then charge it up, and then you just blow up into like a bunch of guts, and it's like an instant kill in most cases. So like, even though nailing a parry is tough, they kind of reward you with like, yeah, but you'll kill them instantly, so you should do it. I don't think the parry timing is anywhere near as tight as Sekiro's or other games. I'm still kind of getting used to it, but I don't like quite where it is. And outside of that, and there are abilities that you can unlock in a big tree that I have to go through, but like sort of like you start with like a basic 3-hit combo that feels like okay, and like the general platforming stuff feels just like fine, but it doesn't feel like exceptional. And I think that following something like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which had like surprisingly great combat, I think this kind of like it's more glaring that this feels like a step or two below that so far. But at least where I'm at in the point in the game, I've started to unlock a couple of moves. Like a big one that I almost think should just be in your arsenal and shouldn't be an unlock, is that I have the ability to run down, which makes things a lot easier, because now you can just run and just, jump into attacks or do stuff. And it's like, oh man, this makes getting around so much more fun. You should probably just give this to people. And then I unlocked a drone, or like basically a drone. Like your Yi has like an AI assistant where it takes the form of this weird like glowing butterfly thing, and you can use it to scout ahead, which is like a cool idea for a Metroidvania where like you can reach an area where like, okay, I don't have the item to get through this, but I can send this thing out ahead to see like what's over there though. Let me see how far I can go and at least get a sense of what I should prepare for. And then it can also hack into doors and unlock certain areas for you, and it looks like it can do other stuff that I haven't like unlocked yet. So I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. But so far I think the combat is just on the bubble of fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking me out of it a little bit. Yeah. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wish it was better. And I've looked ahead at some of the other like unlockables in the skill tree, and I look at it and go like, okay, that seems like something I would want, or something that might remedy my issue with this. So, maybe we'll see where it is. Maybe it's like a slow burn kind of a game. But right now, the vibes and the story is carrying me forward. Like, they've introduced some really cool ideas with its world and sort of like the story they're trying to tell with it. Where I was like, okay, I want to at least get to like the first soul or god and see how that goes down. And with 9 of them, that's like a lot. So I wonder how big this game actually is and how long it takes to get to each one. But like, for Red Candle Games' first ever like side-scrolling action game, it seems like it's probably better than it should be, given that they have no experience making that, but also their inexperience sort of shows in that area too. But we'll see. I'm going to stick with it for a bit.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more. It's always interesting when those games are really hitting on one angle really well, and then kind of falling down when it comes to how it feels to play. But I don't know. Like you said, the narrative framing of it all sounds interesting. The art style certainly looks really compelling. So yeah, keep us updated. I'm curious to hear more. But let's get into our Summer Game Fest predictions. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a jingle for that? Did it Summer Games Fest?
Sounds like we do now.
We do now, yeah.
Yeah,
that was it right there.
Is there not a Summer Games Fest like song that plays every year? Am I making that up? Does
you just
not have like a jingle?
It's
You
just
hum
like
any Imagine Dragons song.
the
in your
theme
head.
song is and now welcoming to the stage Jeff Keighley.
World premiere.
Yeah, that's the theme song.
About to do that.
I thought it was going to be Jeff
World
Keighley
premiere.
getting really like too emotional about a big announcement. Guys, I am so excited. I cannot believe they agreed to let me show this to you guys, but here it is.
Yeah,
They
or,
tried to
Muppets
stop me.
showing up for no one in particular, except for Keighley, who's very excited about the Muppets. But
Ooh,
the rest
which
of us
Muppet are
are
we
like,
getting this
okay,
year?
that's fine.
Who haven't they done yet?
They had
got
Big Bird on stage
Big
yet.
Gonzo last year, right?
I don't.
They got to
Is
put
Big Bird
Big
a
Bird up
Muppet?
there. I thought
mean,
Big Bird counts as a Muppet because Sesame
don't know,
Street is
yeah.
Muppets,
Jim
right?
Henson, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. It's not. It was not an accusatory question. I don't know.
No,
Are you
this
saying
is
that
good.
the Sesame Street puppets aren't good enough to be? Is there like a weird class thing going
No,
on?
they're
here?
their own thing. As I wonder, are they like a separate? You know, are Bert and Ernie? Are they Muppets or are they Sesame Street puppets? Are they Sesame Street
Well,
residents?
let me reveal something to you, Kyle.
Uh-oh.
Might shock you. They're all puppets.
I
Except
think the
for
Jim
Big
Henson
Bird.
Company will literally come to your house. if
Except
you
for
call
Big
them
Bird.
that.
Big Bird.
It's Kermit like holding a pistol up to the door, like, open it up. I just want to talk.
Hey, I'm here to kill you! Yay!
I've got a Glock.
Oh, is that Elmo? Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, I was like, which
what?
Muppet
It's like,
is
what
that?
are we doing now?
I thought it was clear that was Elmo.
But you said he's not a Muppet.
He's a Muppet. He's a puppet.
Elmo's holding a gun. Elmo can be whatever he wants to be.
Elmo angry.
God. It reminds
All
me of the I don't know if you guys are old Conan fans, the Ginger No bit. The
I don't
dog
think I
that
know that
shoots-
one.
No, I don't know that one.
And he has like he does the dog training class, and he's got the guy into dogs. And he's like, oh yeah, this can survive like 50 pounds of bite
Yes.
pressure, and then
Yes.
the dog just pulls out a gun and shoots the guy.
I showed that to my daughter recently, and it was funny all over again. It's such a good bit. I didn't realize Ginger, yeah, because it's like Ginger,
like-
no. But
Yeah, and then they do a bit with Kermit, where Kermit's with Conan, and then randomly has nothing to do with the bit, but then Kermit just goes, Ginger, no! And then the dog just shoots Kermit. It's those
Oh,
random
stuff,
dumb
good
things.
stuff.
That's great.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of random dumb things, let's get into our Summer Game Fest predictions. I don't think we really have a format for this other than we're just
Throw 'em
gonna
out there.
we're just gonna throw them out there. Marcus, I'm gonna go to you first.
All right, guys.
I always look to you for the bold predictions.
Well, I got one right here. You called it a random dumb thing, but this is going to turn out to be the smartest thing that was ever said about Summer Games Fest this year. Because I think, and also I think I don't think this necessarily our predictions have to happen at Summer Games Fest proper. It could be at any of the other
The
events
summer
happening this weekend.
Gaming conferences that are happening
Yes.
mostly in June.
Summer of Games, and a lot of them this weekend. I'm going to say that the Sony will properly reveal the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Okay.
Probably at SGF. And I know you're going to say, well, they just did a thing.
That's
But
exactly what I was gonna
that was
say.
a state of play. State of plays are smaller than the other ones they do. PlayStation showcases, like those are like the big ones.
I don't
State of plays are more
understand
like,
this.
yeah, we got some stuff.
I saw people saying this online where they're like, well, state of plays, they're not the same thing as a showcase. And I'm like, we used to just have Nintendo Directs. And then before that, we just had, hey, a stream's going live. Like, they need to have better taxonomy of what their things mean. That's my side tangent to all this.
I mean, even Nintendo does that. We're like, hey, this is a partner showcase. It's not the main event.
This is an
Right.
Indie World Direct.
That's easy to understand, and they're being very upfront about like, hey, this is third-party partner stuff. Whereas Sony's like, it's a state of play. You better
Right.
tune in.
It's not
a
immediately clear,
showcase.
like-
You better tune in. Like,
Right. Like state of play versus showcase. You're like, what is that? What actually is better than the other one? That's not immediately evident.
I think it's because one company is more comfortable admitting that like this is not going to be their big name stuff in a show, and they're cool
Right.
with it being one thing, and then the other company like maybe doesn't want to say that out loud.
Well, you know what? They're gonna say their big thing out loud on Jeff Keighley's stage. Like they're gonna be like, "Hey, that PS5 Pro that's been rumored for a while and has also been rumored to be shown off at this year at some point. Here it is. Whether or not any of us actually want it doesn't matter."
Yeah,
Here
is it
it is.
redesigned, you think? Because I still hate the aesthetic of the PlayStation
I think
5.
the-
I
I think the rumors were that more or less it would look the same, kind of. Because I
Taller
mean, they
collar.
released that slim version. Remember that barely looks different.
Yeah, I just I don't
hate
I
it.
really there was a quote from some executive when they revealed the PS5 and they're like, give it some time. you know, you're gonna come around on this thing, and I still hate it. I move my consoles around my house a lot. Like, that's just the kind of gamer I am. I pick up my console from the living room and I put it in the bedroom and back and forth. And I hate moving the PlayStation 5.
It's
around.
awful.
It sucks.
You can't. It always feels like it's gonna fall apart.
You can't pack it. You can't lay it flat without the stupid little cheek thing on it.
Like, you can't lay it flat. Like, what were they thinking?
They said, wouldn't it be cool if this looked like a weird modern art piece that also looks like Seto Kaiba's coat?
Yeah, it looks like Seto Kaiba.
It's ugly.
It needs a higher popped collar.
It's always been
it needs to go further
if
up.
anything, the Pro probably has a higher collar because it's the better version. So it's like it has to be higher because it's the Pro.
They add a top hat as well.
It's so boring, but like if they were like, this is a fun throwback, we're gonna make it look like a PlayStation 2, I'd be like, thank you. That is a block with like horizontal lines that makes it easier to put in places, you know?
Yeah, so I guess that can be a side prediction, is that it still is not the design that you want.
Yeah.
I hope they make it
should be redesigned, but it won't be redesigned.
I hope they make it a circle or like a triangle.
Like a pyramid?
A pyramid.
Like you hang it around your neck like a Millennium Puzzle? And that's how you carry it around?
Hey, that's the new PSP, baby. All right, I'm gonna throw one out there, Marcus. I think we're gonna see a new gaming handheld announced from one of the major publishers.
Oh, you got to commit to one of them.
Do I?
I thought I knew where you're going with this because there's one big rumor that.
I mean,
all right, I'll say it. PSP.
Oh, that's not who I thought.
That's
you
the
were.
one.
That's not where I was going either.
They
no.
released the streaming
Xbox.
device. Yeah,
That's where I thought.
Are we playing hot and cold?
Yeah. Well, there are rumors of a PSP, but yeah.
That would be weird after they put out that Portal not that long ago.
That's
like,
yeah.
maybe that should have just been your one.
No, it's most certainly PS5 Pro. But yeah, I think we're gonna see the Xbox handheld, and I think it's out this year, this fall.
Okay.
What do you think they'll call it?
Something stupid.
The hand box.
No, it'll still be
Xbox
lunchbox.
I said the hand job.
The X hand.
It's Xbox something, right? It's never gonna. There's Xbox 360.
It's gonna be the Xbox Go.
Yeah, something like that, right?
The X deck.
And then in parentheses, not to be confused with the PSP Go, is what
They call it was X Cloud, right? Yeah, so I think it'll be
Xbox Cloud.
the X Go.
X Pocket.
X Pocket. Oh, that could work. X Pocket.
To be clear, I would love
X-Pac.
That would be. I would be
X.
more excited about that announcement than like a new, like a PS5 Pro or a new iteration. You know, there's that in the document. They had that like spherical, that cylindrical Xbox, right?
Oh,
like
that's
that
supposed
could
to
be
be the
known.
Pro, right?
Yeah.
Like I would much rather have a new handheld, weird, funky thing than like a new iteration of a console, because we're not ready for PS6, right? We're not there yet. So yeah, I would love some kind of dedicated handheld again. Would be really cool. I would love the Switch equivalent, the Steam Deck equivalent of an Xbox. That would be really exciting.
Well, I wonder if it would have a dock so that you could play it. Would they go that far?
I'm sure.
Probably a dock that you buy
so.
separately, same as you do with like the Steam Deck and other stuff, where it's like, you can get the deck by itself, whatever they end up calling it, and then like here's a dock you can also buy if you want to.
Or
dock
you
it,
can
'cause it would have to be-
wirelessly cast from your Xbox to your.
Oh,
I bet there'll be some of
Chromecast
that
or
kind of
something.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Portal, the PlayStation.
Well, no, I think it'll
Portal,
be
but
standalone, but with the option.
The dirty secret is that if you have a Steam Deck, you can do PlayStation Remote Play on it. So like you kind of already have a PlayStation Portal if you have a Steam Deck. It runs a little bit better, is my understanding.
You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think a lot of the future of console hardware is moving in this direction. It makes a lot of sense for it to do so, and I think the Switch was a like sea change in all of this. So
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Anything they can do to have you play your games but not actually have them locally or own them. That's the long term.
Yeah. Somebody will walk on stage and be like, "You could play the new Call of Duty on this thing. It's coming to Game Pass."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
I think you're
imagine
right.
being in Call of Duty and someone says like I'm using tilt controls?
They're just on stage doing this, like, ah! Oh, look how.
God.
Yeah, I think we're
Xbox
getting
would be
an Xbox portable device.
I'd love that. That'd be exciting. That'd be cool.
I would like to see that.
Who's next? Who's going next? Who's brave enough?
We did some predictions over on MinMax recently, and my 3, which we can talk about here, is Gary Oldman on stage. That was my celebrity cameo. I specifically cited Gary Oldman. Something Castlevania. Like a new Castlevania. And then I'm going quickly through these because I already talked about these on another podcast. And then I did my big pie in the sky, I don't think this is going to happen one, was a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake. But now Keeley has basically heard that and was like, no. What were you thinking?
Well, he said Kingdom Hearts 4 specifically.
While we were I looked it up, and he did Umbrella Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay.
He didn't specifically cite 4. Like the direct quote is, people keep asking about Kingdom Hearts. I don't know why.
So, leave me alone.
I like the Gary Oldman thing. Is this a Leon the Professional tie-in that we're getting? Are we finally getting a Leon the Professional video game? Is this
Do you have context for that? I haven't listened to that episode of the MinMax show yet, so I don't know what I didn't show your work for that.
Sure, yeah, I'll do it quickly. Because I'm sorry, if you listen to both podcasts, I don't want to reiterate too much, but I was like, celebrity, right? Definitely some celebrity. We had Nicolas Cage recently, so I googled Nicolas Cage contemporaries, and Gary Oldman was on the list. And I was like, that's a good one. They had
Al Pacino.
Video games. They did
have Al Pacino. So who needs a paycheck right now? Who in Hollywood?
There's no world where Robert De Niro.
Who's the guy?
His kids can play Fortnite every day for the rest of his life. Robert De Niro won't get on a plane to come to SGF.
You know what? You get Chris Hemsworth. He's on that Furiosa high. You get him. Seems like he'd be up for that.
Who's the guy that talks like this, Mr. Bat?
So I Google searched who in Hollywood needs a paycheck right now, and Bruce Willis is not a bad guess here.
Well, that would be sad.
Bruce Willis is not appearing in public anymore. That's
why?
Because he has
dementia.
What?
I'm sorry. This is how you learn.
This is how I learned this.
I'm actually sad that a couple of years ago.
He's not acting anymore or anything. He's out of the game. It's sad. It's a bummer. Yeah.
This is horrible. This is like the second worst way I've learned about a bad celebrity piece of news.
It's gonna say kind of going off tangent here. You're gonna hear like world premiere. And then it's going to be a black screen, and you're going to hear, some men and women aren't looking for money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, and negotiated with. They simply want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne. And then and then he walks out on stage, and it's Michael Caine.
Not to bring us down again, but another actor who has fully retired and will not be getting on a plane.
God!
Although he doesn't have it
from acting, not from popping up at video game shows.
As far as we know, he is committed. I mean, nothing's wrong with Michael Caine, as far as we know.
Yeah, he's just done.
But he's just like, I'm good.
And like is still working. All right, let's like narrow this down a little.
I wasn't sure if you're going.
But Alex, you're saying specifically a Nolan verse?
No, I'm just. Okay, I just want to do it. No, so what's actually gonna when you boot up, Xbox is gonna introduce a new Cortana assistant, but it's gonna be celebrity guests, and so you're like, and check out this, and they're gonna press the Xbox button, and you'll just hear, oh my god, and it's what's her name? I'm just doing impressions at this point.
I know.
I thought you were trying to do the Jim Carrey "Somebody Stop Me."
No,
right there.
Oh my god,
Ace Ventura.
It's what's her name?
I don't know. I don't know the impression.
I don't.
It's what's her name? Oh my god, Jennifer Coolidge.
Keep doing it.
Oh, Jennifer Coolidge. That is a good Jennifer Coolidge. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Right now.
All right.
It's like a little sprinkling of a Kristen Wiig character, like on top of that.
Oh, good times, good times.
Yeah, but I don't know other celebrities because it's like they've gotten truly like massive.
Well, we had Timothy Chalamet
at the Game
Awards.
Right? Yeah.
Have we had Jamie
Keanu
Lee Curtis
Reeves.
yet? I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis could probably make an appearance at one
My
of these.
prediction for that was like that's a shoo-in. Like her and Kate Blanchett are there to promote the Borderlands movie specifically. Like that's
Yeah.
almost like that's a guarantee almost. Jack Black shows up too. He's hanging
Kevin
out.
Hart was just on that Kai Cenat stream, right? So like, you know, he's playing around in the realm of video games. So
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Black feels like if he's not there for Borderlands, then he might be like, "Hey, I'm in that Minecraft thing."
Well, I
too."
think Tenacious D
He
is
just
on.
walks off stage and walks right back out. I'm here now. I'm here for
We're
Minecraft.
gonna do
That's
some
a completely different
journalism.
person.
Tenacious D tour dates because they're on
there
tour
we
right
go.
now.
what I want you to
Oh, okay. Tour doesn't start until July.
Mm.
They're gonna be in
I mean, that would
Australia.
not be. Would that be an exciting thing, or would it just be like, "Oh, it's Jack Black"? Yeah, that makes sense.
What if he goes out on stage and announces Brutal Legend 2 with
Okay,
like,
then we're talking.
yeah, and like
be
that's
cool.
part of the Xbox show is like Double Fine announces Brutal Legend 2.
I was literally. My prediction was gonna be a Double Fine announcement. Damn it.
And then we
It's
all
like
go.
Brutal Legend 2 : this one's not an RTS. That's what it'll be called.
And then we all go, "Oh crap! We hope it sells 1 million copies, so they don't close the studio."
Mhm, mhm.
Oh,
God.
They're standing there like sweating nervously as like they're holding like an Elmer Fudd gun on the side of the stage. Like this better go well.
We got Jack Black out here. I actually have an Xbox prediction. I think Clockwork Revolution pops up again, and we get a release window for that game.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The In Exile steampunk kind of BioShock Infinite looking thing that was shown last year. I think it was
We
like
have
2
not
years
seen
ago.
gameplay, right? All pre-rendered cutscene, or not
I thought
cutscene.
that trailer that trailer did have some gameplay, but it was like
Okay.
snippets of it.
I couldn't. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
But it has not popped up at all since then. I feel like this is the time where we get something about that game again.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one. I like that one. Yeah, it feels like the time is right.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
hear me
throw
out.
one.
You go ahead.
I'm gonna throw one from down the court on Xbox. I think they're gonna announce more Activision Blizzard games coming to Game Pass, and I think they're gonna tease something about StarCraft. Now, pie in the sky dream here is that they dig out the files and have like done a remastered. We have like brought back what was StarCraft Ghost, like put it all together into a playable version, and we're putting it on Game Pass. That's my like
That'd
from
be
the other
wild.
side of the court, hucking that ball for the thing that pays off your tuition thing.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
I want them to do something with StarCraft, because like Blizzard has not done anything with StarCraft since like HOTS, and it feels like a franchise that could still have that weight and, you know, make use of the buffalo if you're going to buy the whole buffalo, right? So I don't know, like I think StarCraft could be a pretty good one.
Yeah, they're gonna put
Yeah.
Master Chief in StarCraft.
Finally.
I feel like if they did Ghost, like they would just start over, right? Like that
There
could
were-
be the surprise announcement
I mean, I
too.
think you
There
have
was
to,
a
right?
lot of stuff of Ghost out there for a while, though. I know, like, I think at one point it was playable to some degree. There were like
you
demos
can see
and stuff.
footage of it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does make me wonder if they went back in there and just tried to treat it like some sort of archival thing, like for posterity. We brought it back and we like remastered and like tried to stitch it all together and make it work and function
Yeah.
as sort
it's
of like a novelty.
like Star Fox 2 a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly like Star
Yeah.
Fox 2.
Honestly, that would be cool. Like instead of just like, hey, we put the games you like on Game Pass, here's like this thing that never came out that we somehow got functional and we put it, because
That would be cool.
Sega did that recently too, where they had that remember on Steam they released that unreleased Golden Axe game that was like, hey, we did
Yeah.
not finish this, but we're just gonna put it out there. Like we were working on a new Golden Axe and it just fell apart at some point, but here's what we had.
Mhm.
Like they
Weird.
just
I
do
forgot
that,
about that.
basically. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we're going to get a new game reveal from Rare.
Oh, so not we're
Okay.
just gonna ignore. We're never gonna speak of Everwild ever again.
Correct.
We're gonna pretend that didn't.
Bro,
that's not
rebrand
happening.
Everwild.
They're gonna bring back Viva Pinata, and I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna cheer. No, I think Rare.
Genuinely, the market is there for a new Viva Pinata, like for real, like a cozy game, like
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Or like a remake of the first one. I mean, I would want a new one, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at Rare's like catalog, like there's never going to be another Cameo, You know, there's never
Yeah.
going to be another Grab by the Ghoulies. Viva Pinata feels like a surer bet to me than even Banjo-Kazooie in a weird way. Just because that's what, I don't know. I feel like especially Game Pass people would love like a cozy AAA rare Viva Pinata in 2024, 2025.
And I think
I
think they get the hype out with that, and then quietly in interviews they like confirm Everwild was shelved.
Like somebody asked them, like, so y'all still making that?
Yeah, and they answer that question. So it's out there,
by
but they
saying
don't.
Sea of Thieves is a fantastic.
But they don't. They definitely do not announce that they are shutting. They stopped development on Everwild because they don't want that publicity. But they'll quietly confirm it so the news is out there. Yeah,
I feel like
Yeah,
it'd be easier
maybe,
to just rip that Band-Aid off. It's not like the game was making noise over the last few years.
well, I think like with Arcane and Tango, I think they are going to avoid any sort of news of canceling projects for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Just
what?
my 2 cents.
Speaking of not or courting controversy with Xbox, this is a weird prediction, but I would say Phil Spencer takes the stage at the showcase and maybe is greeted by even the smallest smattering of boos. Like I don't think he gets his normal warm
surprised.
reception this year.
I'd be surprised if that happens, though.
I don't think we see him at all. I don't think we see
Yeah.
any Xbox executives.
I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we do too.
I think we
Alright.
do.
I think Phil's the kind of guy he feels like I gotta show my face to save face, basically a little bit.
Well, he certainly
I
hasn't
think-
been that way on Twitter.
I mean, true. I mean, but the showcase, that's after his interview with Ryan McCaffrey, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's doing an interview.
He is,
Confirmed.
okay.
I know
Now,
he's doing
like,
a couple. I
how
think he's doing
many-
a couple. Yeah.
How many interviews he's doing and where and when is like a different question, but he is doing at least like one like public facing interview live streamed.
Yeah,
So
like, the IGN one is the big one.
yeah.
So like he'll have been out there at this point.
Okay.
So
I think there's others unannounced probably too. I think.
Yeah, someone at an outlet somewhere probably has interviews lined up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like he'll come out and there'll be the initial like hey Xbox, yeah, and then somewhere in that corner of whatever the Microsoft theater he'll be like or just like
I think
some
I could
negative
hear
response.
some random guy's gonna scream out, and it's gonna be like an awkward moment.
I was saying boo earns. I really hope that the FF Tactics thing is real. The one that we've been like speculating about for years
God, I
because of the
forgot about
Nvidia leak. I
Right.
feel like every year I'm just like, it's the year. FF Tactics. Give me the remake, the remaster, whatever, just put it on modern systems. The fact that I can't play that on my Switch right now is like a crime against humanity. And like
Eric.
the Tactics Ogre one worked really well. So
Speaking of tactics, we need Metal Slug Tactics.
Well, that just popped up this week.
yeah, that just popped up.
I
Wait,
read
what?
a news story yesterday. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a,
I've been
I don't know,
traveling.
it's
I've been
smart.
traveling. What?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's hard that this is how you learn.
They
Wait, it's
confirmed
back?
a fall release window, I believe, was the
Yeah.
news hit.
Oh my
right?
god.
yeah, and a new
Yeah.
trailer. Yeah.
That game does
Okay.
look cool. I'm not even a
Yeah.
tactics guy, but I love the way that looks.
I mean, I love Metal Slug and tactics.
But yeah, like that was one I was in my head. I was expecting like, oh, it'd be cool if you see that this weekend. And they were like, they just got ahead of it. Like, nah, it's here. It's coming.
Oh, cool. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's going to be, as far as I can tell, a good year for the Tactics sickos. So that's why I'm hoping that like FF Tactics gets out there and like leads the charge a little bit. But I feel like ever since the Nvidia leak that, let a bunch of stuff out early, but also has like a few things lingering that have not come to fruition yet. Tactics has been the big one for me where I'm just like, that's such a big piece of Square history that I feel like is not as easily accessible as other games. Even other like you can play FF7, like classic FF7 on pretty much anything these days, but you cannot find some other like Final Fantasy games quite so easily. And the pixel remasters have helped with that and all that. But now Tactics needs its time. We got to understand where we came from. We just had Unicorn Overlord. That was like that was way more influenced by Tactics Ogre and Ogre Battle and all that. But like, we need to honor the history, the legacy a little bit. So
yeah, I picked that game back up again recently.
Unicorn.
Yeah, because I started it, but then got pulled away from just other stuff. But I've gotten back into it.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
It's a good time.
Vanillaware does not miss.
I feel like a lot of these are Xbox. I feel like for those that don't know, Jeff Keighley got ahead of the show and basically said, "Hey, don't get it'll be okay." Like I think
turned down the heat a little. Yeah,
he's like, slow year for the industry, whatever that actually means to him. But so it's weird to try to predict things that aren't super exciting to try to match the expectation that he set of like, well, what's like a B tier announcement that he could make? But like for Xbox, I think that they will announce the next wave of first party games going to PlayStation. But here's the next like 2 or 3 of these that we maybe in the next year you'll see on PlayStation.
Like major Xbox titles going over to PlayStation.
And I think I will say one of them will be either a Gears or Halo game. Like it's gonna be one like damn busting like whoa, like never thought we'd see this here. Like it's gonna be an old Gears or an old Halo.
I was going to say Halo the Master Chief Collection makes so much sense for that, because that's something. It's like, it's not infinite, it's not the thing, but
don't get too excited.
But it's the Master Chief Collection. Really, we think that the Sony people should become accustomed with our history now that we're starting to play some of our games and all that. They can frame that very well. Like, we're bringing some historic Xbox games over to PlayStation so that the Sony players can check those out. I think
we're doing you a favor.
Yeah. We're going to get the Halo Master Chief Collection and then Gears the Dom Collection, like here's what would you call the Master Chief collection of Gears? Yeah.
No, so that's the 3 games without Judgment. Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah. The Emergent
like
collection.
The original trilogy.
Yeah, so maybe just the Marcus Phoenix collection or something.
Gears
like
of
that.
War Emergence collection.
I was going to say, Emergence.
Yeah. And then maybe if you're good, we'll give you Judgment.
Torque Bow collection.
But yeah, that's
the Roadie Run.
Yeah, Roadie Run collection.
But yeah, that's what we get more PlayStation, Xbox, the PlayStation announcements. I don't know what else they could throw in there to round that up. Maybe what's an old Xbox thing that they don't care about?
Killer Instinct.
Sure. Yeah, that Xbox One launched Killer Instinct. Sure, why not?
Yeah, just slide it over there. Just scooch it on over.
Maybe time for a new Hazelight announcement. It Takes Two is 2024. They Joseph Fares likes Keighley.
I feel like that's a
Keighley
next year
him.
thing.
Yeah, 2025.
I think it's too soon.
Feel like the more boring version of that is that he just comes out to talk about that movie they announced a while ago.
Oh right.
If he's there, well, no, it's not the Game Awards. I was gonna say.
I mean, he could be at SGF. Hasn't he been at an SGF before?
Yeah, I just think it's too soon. I was gonna say if he was out there handing out an award, he could confirm that they're working on a new game before doing that.
He could always give lips like, "Hey, our next project is underway," and then that's all he says.
Those are my favorite announcements.
But he'll be in
SGF
his seat like they did with Jedi Fallen Order, where
where they're in the crowd.
And they don't even have a name for the game.
Oh, like Jeff's next to him with a microphone, like, "Hey, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were coming."
They had the name right for Jedi Fallen Order, but that was it.
I remember which announcement you're talking about, because they were sitting in the crowd.
Andrea Renee was hosting.
Or not the Vince Impala thing when he put a mic to him.
Yeah. I love those announcements because they're always just like, well, I'm going to tell you a game's happening. We have nothing to talk about or show right now. Please join our studio because this is a recruitment.
We're hiring.
Yeah. Unlike the general vibe, we are hiring actually. What's the weird thing about doing that is like, either they know in advance, like, hey, we're going to come up to your chair at this point and you're going to announce your new thing, at which point it's like, why not just have them on the stage to do it? Why try to make it seem like this is like an on the fly,
because it's casual, man.
Yeah, but it's like a bigger deal to go on stage and say like, hey, this studio that's super respected and loved, we have a new thing coming.
Well, that means more production costs, motion graphics, paint.
That's one PowerPoint
when you could just do a bit instead. and bits are better.
Yeah. Well, I would say the alternative to that is that it's not planned and they put this poor man on the spot and he has to be like, what? Oh, I mean, yeah. We're working on something new. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this yet, but I have a camera in my face.
Believe it or not, we're just not sitting here doing nothing. Oh my God.
If they put a camera on you at SGF, you have to legally tell them what game you're working on. That you sign that when you walk in the door.
Even if you're not a game developer.
Exactly.
That'd be funny if someone didn't play ball. They're like, I can't tell you, Jeff. Like, we didn't talk about this, and it just gets like this really awkward moment where he's like, "Come on, tell me what you got."
Jeff, that was off the record.
I really can't talk about it. Jeff, you know this. I can't talk about this. What are you doing?
Anyways, I'm trying to think of anything. We focused on Xbox today.
I had one other that's non-Xbox. Okay. I know that 2K has been out there saying they're going to reveal a sequel to one of their biggest and most beloved franchises or something like that. I think a lot of people have taken that to mean Borderlands. I'm going to throw this out there. When was the last time we heard about a new Civ? Has there been a new Civ recently? I feel like it's been a while since the last Civ.
It's got to be Civ.
There was the expansion.
What would it be?
Like there was like the sci-fi one, but that was like
the last one. That was
like, it's probably not XCOM. I feel like they maybe don't do XCOM for a while now that, you know, they don't have Jake Solomon and that whole crew there anymore.
Yeah, Civilization 6 was it's been long enough.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that was 2019 that or 2016 actually.
2016, yeah, when it came out. And then it's largely just gotten like ports and updates since. It did have like leader passes and stuff like that. They tried to do passes. But I don't know, maybe it's time for a new version of Civ. I could see that happening because also like what are
they were staffing up for it, I know. Specifically for the Civ, although I think that was like so it was ported to it was ported to like PS4 and Xbox One in 2019. Like that was the last big Civ 6 update.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it seems like a good time. It's that or like Mafia. Maybe like Mafia makes a sudden reappearance. That'd be
we know they're working on it. They announced that they are working on Mafia 4 like 2 years ago or last year for the anniversary something for the series. Or like, yeah, we've already started work on the next Mafia, but don't expect it for a while.
This is an embarrassing question, but that remake of the first one came out, right? It did. It just kind of passed me by. Okay.
Yeah.
I played 2. I remember liking 2 back in the day, but I never played 1 or 3.
Blake used to really like 3. He's talked about it a lot.
Yeah,
I started 3. Yeah.
But yeah, I think everyone. It's funny you said Borderlands. I feel like everyone's maybe it's more hoping that it's BioShock.
I mean, I think that would just be strange because there's Judas coming out as well, and I think it would be hilarious for like a new BioShock and Judas to come out in the same like window, because everything I saw of Judas was like, yeah, that looks like BioShock.
But we know they are working on a new BioShock, but it's Cloud Chamber. Like that is happening for sure. And
yeah, but will they wait until Judas is out the door? You know,
how long is that going to be? Because that BioShock thing's already been floating around for years now. So it's honestly, it was a race to see who would reveal their game first, whether it was that or Ken Levine.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I had put my money on BioShock popping up before Ken Levine's game.
Yeah.
So I can't think of many other like beloved, unless we go into sports, but even then I'd be surprised to see like an NFL 2K make a return or anything like that.
We got Top Spin already, right? Which could have been one.
That could have been it, yeah, actually.
I feel like the big sports resurgence this year is just NCAA football coming back, or now it's called college football, because I guess they don't have the license, or they didn't want to get the license, but that one is going to be the one that eats up all the oxygen this summer, and I'm excited. I love college football. I'm so happy for that, but I'm not really caring about most other sports games now at this point.
I'm like actively trying to figure out like what else does 2K do that isn't the big stuff, that isn't sports, that would qualify as like, hey, you guys love this, you're excited for it, and there's too many is the answer.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for the show this week. That was a fun one.
Can I say the obligatory Hollow Knight Silk song?
Of course, yes.
Thank you, for including that. Shadow drop or release date? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
It's under your seat.
Honestly, it just shows up about this in the comment. Anything else is extra credit.
Perfect. Well, everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to go and follow Eric Van Aken here on social media at cmoosi. That's SEAMOOSI. Check out his work over on Destructoid, Axe the Blood God, and Normandy FM. Follow Marcus here at Marcus Stewart 7. Follow Kyle at Kyle M. Hilliard. And you can follow me at It's Van Aken on socials. Wherever you want to talk to me, I'm there.
Yeah. Wherever you social.
Yeah, wherever. The town square, local restaurant.
I'll be leaning against the coffee shop. That's where you can find me.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget, support us via a print magazine subscription, GameInformer.com/subscription. Go follow all of our other stuff, twitch.tv/GameInformer, youtube.com/GameInformer, GameInformer.com, all that stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in this week. It's going to be a fun week. Again, stay tuned to GameInformer.com for all things Summer Game Fest. It's going to be a good time. And we'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.